Welcome back to the Philly Special. A bunch of guys who like to talk about Philadelphia sports. Today's podcast is brought to you by Chia Pets. Thank you, Joel. All right. Now, get things started off today. We have a full slate of Philadelphia Eagles. Well, maybe a few other teams or players here and there. But for the most part, we have the Eagles on display today in their mediocre season. So that's what we're going to talk about. Right, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of hit on it in the previous podcast. We thought this was going to be a little bit of a different team once they got Carson Wentz back. But at the same time, we didn't know what Carson Wentz was going to offer to the team because this is a guy that's coming off of a major knee injury, and, as much as you would like to hope that that's not going to be a major setback, it's not going to have a major impact on his performance this season, it's not necessarily fair to expect that him coming back is going to solve all of the problems that this offense has had. If you look back at the first game of the season, I understand that it was Nick Foles, and he's not necessarily your starter. But they're playing against the Atlanta Falcons, who have proven to be nothing short of god-awful against the pass this season. Probably the worst team I've ever seen against the pass. And Foles couldn't throw for 200 against them. So you almost had to expect that there was going to be some sort of upgrade there once they got Carson Wentz back. But, we weren't necessarily sure. And this is a team right now that's lucky that they're in a division that affords them some time to get this thing figured out because the Giants are not good. Eli Manning is well past his prime, I guess is a nice way to put it. Their offensive line struggles. At the same time, you've got the Cowboys, who they routed the Jaguars, but I think that the Cowboys have pretty much shown you what they are. They're not very good. The Redskins they're not anything that they should be worried about. I think that this season is theirs to lose. The division is theirs to lose. So, they've got time to get this thing going around week 10, 11, 12. That's where we should start to see this Eagles team turn into the Eagles team that we've been expecting. But, Joel had some statistics over here about the difference in quarterback rating between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. And while it was pretty clear while Nick Foles was playing that he wasn't playing very well, statistically not putting up huge numbers, and we expected that there was going to be a huge difference there once they got Carson Wentz back. But actually, the difference in QBR has, it really hasn't been what we would expect it to be.
It wasn't the spark that we thought Wentz would be able to provide to this Eagles team. What are the numbers?
Yeah, the difference in QBR is only 5 points. Carson Wentz is 61.2, and Nick Foles is at a 56.3. So both not very great, and also not that big of a difference between the two quarterbacks there.
Another player that I don't know, I think we kind of may have had high expectations for is Nelson Agholor, who last year had a pretty solid season in Philadelphia. He had 8 touchdowns, 768 yards across the season, which is pretty solid. But, I mean, this year so far he's only caught 1 TD. I mean, he's got 300 yards so far through these first 6 games, which – I mean, his yards is on track, but he's just not being able to get those money balls when they need them. He hasn't been able to catch those touchdown passes when they need them. And I think, Joel, you mentioned they've only scored, 15 touchdowns this year so far?
Yeah, 15 touchdowns, and they've allowed 12.
So, they're just not the team that we saw last year. That team that Carson Wentz was really a huge part of, and then even after Wentz got hurt in the postseason, maybe that should tell you that he wasn't really doing as much as maybe we thought of. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, if you want to be completely fair here, then what you have to take into account, the Eagles last year did so well in the playoffs and down the stretch of the season because they were exactly what you need to be in the NFL down the stretch. You need to be the team that gets hot. And I think that that's pretty much what happens in almost any professional sport. In any professional sport, you're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that play well enough throughout the season to put themselves in a position to be in the playoffs, all right? So there you're between, like 4 to 8 teams that have played well enough throughout the season to put themselves in a position. Now, the team that's going to win the championship is the team out of those 4 to 8 teams that gets the hottest, right?
Who gets hot at the right time.
Exactly. So, I mean, in every single sport, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, even look at the NCAA tournament. What is that? That's 100% the team that gets the hottest. So, basically, in terms of your at-larges and your conference champions, realistically, you're going to have like 20 teams that go into the tournament thinking that they can win it, right? The rest of the teams are trying to play spoiler. You got roughly 20 teams that think that they have a shot. Those 20 teams played well enough throughout the season to give themselves a shot at being the team that gets hot at the right time. And that's what you're doing in pretty much any sport. You're trying to play well enough throughout the season to give yourself a chance to be that team that gets hot down the stretch. And it can't be everyone every single year. That's why it's so remarkable to see what teams like, Alabama and teams like the New England Patriots, to see the sustained success that they've had. But at the same time, the dynasties. But at the same time, they don't win every single year despite having in Alabama's case, the most talent. In the Patriots' case, it's probably the best quarterback and the best head coach, the best scheme overall. You can't win with just that. There is an element of getting hot at the right time, and that can't be discounted. Last year, with all the talent that the Eagles had, the bottom line is they were the team that was firing on all cylinders down the stretch. And this year, if they don't end up winning the Super Bowl, then we can pretty much chalk it up as being, this is a team that clearly had the talent to win the Super Bowl because they did it last year. But the difference is this year they might not be that team that gets hot. Could be another team. Could be the Vikings. Could be the Jaguars. It could be any one of a number of teams that right now are playing well enough to get into the postseason. Now it's just a matter of who's going to get hot. Could it be the Eagles? Absolutely, it could be. Does that mean that it's going to be? No, and I think that there's definitely an element of luck to that.
For sure. It really, it all just, like, I can't iterate that enough. It just is who's playing the best ball in the playoff. I mean, you can win as many games as you want, but when you get to the postseason, people say it all the time, but records don't matter, and it's true. It doesn't matter if you're Alabama and you have a perfect season, or you're the Patriots and you lost one game all year. If a red-hot Philadelphia Eagles comes in and can beat you for 48 minutes on the field, then it's over, and you're done.
Right, so
the best team is not always going to win. It's whoever plays the best that night, whoever can play, whoever's hot at that time.
Right, exactly. And clearly the talent's on this team to do it, and no one has ever said otherwise. This team has 100% got the talent. They took the team from last year, upgraded the talent. Added guys like Nada, added guys like Bennett from the Seahawks. They did nothing but take the talent and upgrade it.
Now, they have had a few injuries as well, which we got to take into
account. Of course,
account.
you got Jay Ajayi, and, they haven't ruled out the possibility of trading for another running back. Guy like LaShawn McCoy, who's only 30 years old, bringing him back for a reunion. They haven't ruled any of those things out. Looks like, for a minute there were some conversations about Le'Veon Bell, but I don't think that that's happening. So hopefully that they can get back and they can get healthy because, health is obviously important aspect as well. So I would pump the brakes on freaking out about the Eagles right now because we know that the talent is there. We know almost for a fact that when the postseason rolls around, the Eagles will be part of it. So if you're one of the teams that makes the postseason, then you're giving yourself a shot to be the team that gets hot down the stretch, and you can't really ask for much more than that. And so I think that, you can talk about how, Nick Foles struggled and Carson Wentz has only been a little bit better, but obviously you expect that to get better. They've been a pretty good team defensively. You can't really complain too much about that, and that's important because, as we all know, defense travels. But right now they're working with a backfield of Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood. Both guys are very similar running backs. They're small, they're shifty, they don't have the physicality, right? So you can talk about all the statistics that you want to. Basically what they have right now is they have 2 third and long backs who are fast, shifty, good pass catchers, good out of the backfield, but they don't have an all-purpose 3 down back right now. And I think that is also something that you can't discount. You can't completely ignore that because I think that right there is the elephant in the room. That is the glaring issue. They aren't healthy on the offensive side of the ball. I think that they need time. And for any other team, this might be an issue. It might be, sound the alarm. It might be, almost time to hit the panic button. But they are, I've said it a million times, but it's so important. They are afforded the opportunity to struggle and find their way offensively at the beginning of this season, pretty much all the way up through, about the 3-quarter mark of the season, because of the fact that they'll be able to win games based on their talent while they're trying to find that groove, while they're trying to get on track offensively. They have that luxury, which is a luxury that a lot of other teams don't have. And so I think that there's no reason to hit the panic button. I think you need to be patient with Carson Wentz, getting that QBR up, getting those yards per attempt up, starting to throw for more yards. And I think that Carson Wentz has been better than Nick Foles was in terms of yards per game. He's been consistently over 300 yards passing per game, and that's very good, especially in this passing-oriented league. So, like I said, not time to hit the panic button. They've got time here.
Hey guys, you talking about the Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that 2011 team, those guys were studs.
The 2011 team. Are you talking about the dream team? That was the dream team.
The dream team with Mike Vick that never played like a dream team.
Deshaun Jackson. That right there, when you talk about talented Eagles teams, my goodness. But also, if you talk about Eagles teams that, didn't live up to the hype, I don't think that you have to worry about with this team. I think that this team has shown you that they have the championship DNA, the championship fibers built or, woven into the fabric of this team right there. I think that, to put it eloquently, I think that this is a team that you don't have to worry about what you've had to worry about in the past. Also, that 2011 team had so many more personalities right there. That was a ticking time bomb, absolutely waiting to go off. So you don't have to worry about that with this team. You got also you got a head coach that I think is a little bit more even-keeled, a little bit better at managing a locker room in Doug Peterson. And if you look at Andy Reid teams, it's still happening in Kansas City right now. What are they known for every single year? Have lots of talent, start hot, fizzle out, either miss the playoffs or get knocked out in the first round. So I don't even think that it's fair to compare this year's team to any of the teams in years past, really, for the most part. I think that there's just something different about this team. I think they've shown you that they can win and that they know how to win, and that's so important in the league right now.
Well said. Real quick here, we're going to take a break and hear a word from one of our sponsors.
I was on heroin.
I used crack cocaine. We are the Addiction Network.
And if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, you need to call the number on your screen now. Addiction is a disease, and you can't go it alone. The call is free, and so is the consultation. So why haven't you called? What are you waiting for? Call the Addiction Network now. Get the help you need.
Call 800-843-1206.
All right, and we're back.
Do it live! I can do.
We're going to do it live.
Do it live.
All right.
Thanks, Bill O'Reilly.
And we've been doing it live.
Absolutely.
So, just to reiterate what we've been talking about, statistically, this team right now is not performing well. They're not getting good play from the quarterback position. When you've got pretty much an equal QBR between your starter and your backup, that's a problem. Also, just an interesting, tidbit here. They are first in the league in passes to the flat on the right side of the quarterback, and they are 9th in the league in passes into the flat on the left side of the quarterback. So it seems like this year this is a team that's focusing a lot on the dink and dunk pass, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Carson Wentz.
What did you
they're
just
trying
call
to
it?
the dink and dunk pass. Yeah, they're dinking and dunking their way down the field. All right, so, but that makes sense because they're trying to get Carson Wentz back up to game speed. So, like I said, you're gonna see some struggles from the offense because they aren't necessarily what they were last year. They're not the same team offensively, and that's to be expected because of the fact that they are trying to get Carson Wentz back up to game speed. So there's so many variables here that are, contributing to this slow start. Injuries, getting guys back. Maybe it's a Super Bowl hangover. So many different things that I think by the end of the year they'll be able to figure out. And like I said, they're in a division where they've got time to figure it out. I think that, with all things considered here, I don't think it's time to push the panic button yet. But, if this keeps up the way it's at and we get to week 11, 12, or 13 and they're not back on track, then maybe you can start worrying a little bit. But it's so early right now, I'm not worried.
Agreed. And it really does help that they're right now still tied for first in their NFC East. So
They're tied for second. The Redskins are 3-2. The Cowboys and Eagles are both 3-3. So technically they're second, but nobody has over 3 wins in the division. So like Kyle's been saying, not really worried right now. It's a pretty weak division for just overall. So.
Okay, excuse me, my bad. Okay, gotcha. But yeah, it is still a league division. It's still anyone's division. And I think they got, what are some games they got coming up?
Let's see. Let's pull up the schedule here real quick. See what we can get.
We had the Panthers this week. I know that.
So they already played Atlanta. We've talked about that a little bit. Colts, the Titans, Vikings. Haven't really played a whole lot of divisional games so far. They got Carolina coming up. I think that's a winnable game. At Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to have to get back on track. They're home against the Cowboys. That should be a win. At the Saints will be tough. Then they're home against the Giants. That should be a win. Home against the Redskins. That should be a win. So it looks like coming up here with 3 straight home games against division teams.
That's coming after. So they're going to have a bye week 9, and then they can kind of get things figured out against the Cowboys, and then before they have that divisional.
So yeah, they've definitely got an opportunity to kind of find themselves here, and then since they start the majority of their division play so late in the season that they'll be able to start pretty quick. And then by the time they actually have to go on the road to play some of these teams, they should have a pretty firm hold on the division. So, like I said, no worries here. Not pushing the panic button, and don't worry if you're incapable of thinking for yourself. I will tell you when to push the panic button. But until then, I wouldn't worry too much.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think that's just about all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening, and this has been another episode of the Philly Special, and we will catch you next time.